I'm out here working on some of my chores in the garden, and I figured it was high time for me to go ahead and get my front entryway just really together. I really like to start off in the front of my home when I'm working on my summertime containers, because the front is what everyone sees. And if you drove by my house down the street, you will have no clue that in the back of my house it looks like that, because the front is nice, but it's on the modest side. The back is a theater, honey, a theater garden where I just make it my own. Now I'm coming in and I'm spraying my ferns. If you have ferns in your garden, you have to make sure you come out and you mist your ferns. It's something that I like to do. I like to try to mist my ferns in the early morning, and then sometimes I'll come out and I'll hit them at night. Just kind of depends on if we've had a windy day. If there has been a lot of high intense heat, then I will go ahead and hit them twice if it's on one of the days that I like to mist my ferns. Now I am making sure I'm avoiding the other plants in this container, since this is a mixed container. And isn't it looking lovely? It's starting to fill out a little bit great. We're getting a lot more growth down in here, and it's exactly the way that I envisioned this to be. Now I can honestly say, because we had a late spring, I certainly feel like I'm more relaxed this year in my garden. I like it, but that's really not the way I like to roll. I like to stay on top of things, and this year I kind of feel like I'm running behind, which is okay. The pace is going pretty smooth, but I wish I would be further along with things that I had to do in my garden. So I just come in, I mist, and you guys, we have to remember that when we're using these plants in our containers and in our gardens, we need to try to make sure that we provide them with the same environment that they would have in their native environment. Most ferns come from a tropical region. So in the St. Louis region, we are humid here. I still have to come in and provide my plants with a little bit of moisture here. I am making sure, again, to avoid the other plants that are in this container, because I want to make sure I have an even balance. I want to keep my ferns healthy, but I also need to make sure that I keep the other plants that's in my container healthy as well. So just a few more sprays, and then we'll start off working on these containers. Now, I will come back and I will repeat a little bit and just give it a final spray. For these two ferns here, typically I will use this entire bottle here. Now, this bottle holds up to 32 ounces, and that's if you go to the first ridge. So it's a 32 ounce, and I do have it marked, you know, ferns only. We're only going to use ferns for this, for my household. So I like to mark it up real good. Fern mister, H2O only, ferns. That way it serves as a reminder to everyone in the home as well as myself. And I like to get my ferns until they are dripping. I try to get both sides as I'm misting. All right, a little bit more, and there we have it. Now this fern will continue to get bigger, and I'm here for it, because if the fern, if it starts to get bigger, the only thing it's going to do is it's going to integrate itself with this arrangement, and by the end of the summer it is going to be a show in my garden. I have these two standard hydrangea trees right here in my garden, and some years I underplant them. Most years I underplant them. Some years I will go ahead and give them a break. It hasn't been too many years where I didn't come in and underplant my containers here. Now that they're starting to become just such a great specimen, I mean, we went in and we pruned these back pretty hard, And it's evident by the show that we have here at the top. I've been watching them to make sure no birds set up nests inside of them, because that's what happened last year. Thankfully, this year we don't have any bird's nests inside of my standard hydrangea trees. I want to underplant these, but in order to get the look that we are going for, we're going to have to do a little bit of work. Also, in addition to doing this, I also want to plant out my bump out. So I have a retaining wall that we put here maybe about 10, 11, 12 years ago. Probably about 12 years ago, we put this retaining wall in on both sides. And I have a bump out, and with the bump out, I like to have something that crawls over and drapes a little bit. So we're also going to address that as well. I'll put some annuals in there. Each year I change it up from year to year. And this year they're going to reflect the containers in the way that we plant everything up right here. Let's get started. We might as well go ahead and do the hard work first, because like I said, we're gonna have to work a little bit for these containers. So let's go in and let's get started. We're going to break down this fern here. Now, I've broken down ferns on my channel before. Now, these Kimberly ferns, they are a little bit harder to get out of the packaging. So most often, I pretty much just cut them clean out. Although I do like to keep my containers. So that way, if I'm in the middle of transplanting stuff, then I'll go ahead and I will reuse my containers. So I just try to keep like a little stack of them. So if you're going to be changing out your containers quite often and or transplanting things or overwintering things, it is a great idea to keep the packaging. So this one might actually come out. So we got it out. Now, I've shown how I cut up my ferns before. The only thing I'm doing is I'm just going to section this off so that I can use it. And what I like to do is I keep a set of kitchen knives for activities just like this. Supertunia Bordeaux, green apple verbena. I have a lantana right here, geranium, my Kimberly Fern here, and I also have a lemon licorice plant. The Supertunia Bordeaux does look leggy. I'm not worried about that. Around this time of year, if your garden center is not cutting it back, it's going to look leggy. And most often they're not, because plants without blooms on them don't sell very well. So what you do is you can just go in and just clip this back and just take off like 20% of the plant, 30% of the plant, and everything will be fine. We're going to set up our drip tubing. Finally, we're going to set up our drip tubing out there because I'm starting to fall behind with watering. I have my beehive kit. This is what I use to water, and I'll show you this again once we get outside. This is my splitter for my fountain outside, so I can continue to use my fountain outside for things other than just watering my containers, because I'll still need my water hose. So I have my Y connector. This is my backflow preventer. This is called a riser, a flexible riser. 1-inch poly faucet fitting. And I'll make sure that I list everything down in the description box for you if you're interested in doing this in your garden. So first, I take my backflow preventer that connects to my Y tubing. This just makes sure no water gets back into my faucet line, okay? So I put that on there first. Then from there, I come in and I place my beehive. So I'm gonna screw this on. Actually, if I wanted my beehive to water my lawn, what you can do is instead of putting it to 1, you actually can put it to 2. So what I mean by that is I can put this on just like this, wire this a little bit different. So hold on a minute, because I think that's what I want to do. I want everything that I can get ease over, that's what I want to happen. Now I'm going to put my backflow preventer on here, and there's also one on the other end of my beehive as well. I'm going to put on my poly fitter. Okay, so let's run this back. We have our backflow preventer right here that is connected into our beehive, and I went ahead and I flopped the beehive behind my splitter because what I'm going to do is I am going to program this as a zone by itself. So this will water the grass. Then I have the one for my containers as well. And I have a 1/2 inch poly faucet fitting right here. Actually, I'll just bring the whole entire box in case we need it. I used my mallet to hammer down the stakes that wouldn't just go straight into the ground. Let me show you how everything's set up. Have them just running in the front, but then I also have them running in the back as well, all the way down. Then once we get here, have our system set up, and then we teed that in here, same thing, and then we looped around. So we technically can go out the other way if we need to. The last thing I want to plant up is I want to plant up these green apple verbena. These are absolutely amazing. You guys, if you see these, grab them. Beautiful. I'm going to show you how I'm going to be using these. I added some Bordeaux along with the lime verbena, and it doesn't look like much right now, but this is going to take off and it's going to be absolutely explosive. Just trust me when I say this. Although it doesn't look like much right now, give it a little while and it's going to sprout out. So glad that I finally got my drip tubing done. It's crazy how all of these years I've been encouraging people, oh, don't worry about the water and we'll just set up drip tubing. And here I am setting up my good girlfriends and my good guy friends. There you are on tubing, drip tubing, their flower beds and everything from scratch, just to encourage them to garden. In my own garden, I ain't take the time to set my own stuff up. So that's what I'm saying. This season, it's time to practice a little bit of self-care in the garden. Hey. Let me know what you guys are doing in your garden, what you think about these containers, honey. Hey.